Hello everyone, welcome to the Student Organization Advisor Training. My name is Madeline Craig and I'm the Assistant Director for the Associated Student Government on campus. In this training, we will review the role that advisors play in supporting student organizations. We'll also provide several important updates regarding advising, club accounts, and reviewing the organization's constitution or bylaws. Let's get started by discussing the role of the advisor. You all have received the advisor agreement, which details the expectations we have of you as a student org advisor. We also want to highlight a few additional aspects. Clubs are student run. We see so much value in the leadership development that student leaders gain by running their student organizations. As an analogy, we like to use the tandem bike pictured here. The student leaders are in the front seat determining the direction and where they want to take their club. The advisor is in the back seat, and they are giving student leaders energy and helping them to reach their goals. We also see that clubs have most success when the leadership team has a collaborative relationship with their advisors. We ask that club advisors are available to the student org that they advise, so advisors can understand the club's goals and objectives for the year, and so they can guide the club as they work towards those goals. Beyond that, we hope that advisors will be willing to stay on for multiple years to provide continuity as student leadership changes. Next, we want to talk about a few requirements for student org advisors. One requirement that we started last year that will continue into this academic year is that all club advisors are required to meet with members of the organization that they advise at least once a month. We think meeting with club members monthly is important for several reasons. First, we hope that this will help advisors and club members feel connected, so advisors have a strong understanding of what the club is doing, including activities, events, meetings, and more that they may be participating in. Next, we hope it will allow the advisor to understand how club members are doing in their roles and how the club is doing overall. In addition, we hope that this will allow advisors to be actively involved in helping clubs set goals for the year and supporting students as they work towards these goals. We understand that this places a large time commitment on you all as advisors, and we want you to know that we greatly appreciate the time and support that you offer to our students. Next, as much as we talk about clubs being student-run, we do have an expectation that student org advisors step in a few situations. First, if there is a potential for great financial loss to the university. We know that there is a lot of learning from students making mistakes and learning from that experience. However, we do not advise that you allow the university to take a financial loss for that development to take place. Second, if you see a violation of club or university policies taking place. As advisors, we hope that you will be there to help students understand our policies, to talk through any hurdles or issues they may encounter, and to ensure that they are following proper policies and processes. Third, a violation of the university's mission and values. We expect that you step in if you see there is an inconsistency with the student org's intentions or actions and with our university's mission and values. Another requirement for student org advisors is reviewing the club's constitution and bylaws. We are asking that all advisors review the constitution and bylaws of the organization that they plan to advise to ensure that the club's written documents are in alignment with USD's mission, values, policies, and protocols. We will share a copy of the student org's guiding documents with you via email when the club submits a registration request. As you review the documents, please note if there are any areas that do not align with USD's mission, values, policies, or protocols, and let student activities and involvement know if changes are needed. If this is the case, you will be asked to partner with the organization as they update their guiding documents. Next, we'll talk about student org meetings and events. As I record this video, we anticipate that student organizations will be able to host meetings and events in person during the academic year. Students will also have the option to host meetings and events virtually if preferred. As we prepare for the upcoming year, we anticipate that some of our policies may change in order to prioritize the health and safety of the USD community. Please keep an eye on the Student Org newsletter to stay up to date on student org meeting and event policies. We greatly appreciate your support and flexibility as we partner to support student orgs and to keep our community healthy and safe. There are a few important event planning protocols that we want to highlight. The first is the Student Org Event Planner Training. Students who want to access EMS will need to complete this training. Students will need EMS access in order to reserve rooms and submit EVRs on the behalf of their student organizations. In order to set clubs up for success, we are requiring that at least one member of each club completes the EMS training in order to register this academic year. While only one member of the club is required to complete the training, we strongly encourage more members of the organizations to complete it. If possible, we suggest the entire executive team is EMS trained. The Student Org Event Planner Training reviews basic planning protocols and processes that students need to know. There is a quiz at the end of the training, and students will need to pass with an 80% to gain access to EMS. In addition, students will need to be a member of the organization on Torero Orgs to gain access. Once students complete the training, please allow up to 1 week for access to EMS, as our systems do not automatically sync. Students who completed the training last year will have access to EMS until September 30th. After that date, only students who have completed the training during the 2022 to 2023 academic year will have access. In this next section, we're going to discuss event registration, also known as EVRs. EVRs must be submitted for all club meetings and events, including off-campus, on-campus, and virtual events. The type of event will determine how far in advance students need to submit their EVR. Simple meetings, which are meetings that only require a space on campus but no additional approvals, require an EVR be submitted 1 week in advance. Off-campus events and virtual events require EVRs 2 weeks in advance. On-campus events and meetings that require additional approvals, such as meetings with an outside speaker, activities, and more, require an EVR be submitted at least 3 weeks in advance. This will give the university time to review contracted services, get risk management's approval, review outside speakers, and more. Submitting an EVR is not only important for receiving guidance, space, and necessary event approvals, it is also a requirement to access ASGBC funding. As an advisor, we ask that you empower students to submit EVRs. Advisors should not submit EVRs or room reservations on the organization's behalf. If advisors submit EVRs on the behalf of a student organization, ASGBC will not provide funding for those events. We do this in order to encourage students to be the ones who are filling out all relevant paperwork for their student organizations. The Student Org Events panel brings together campus partners on a weekly basis to meet with student org leaders to help them get the approvals they need in one centralized location. Our office heard from many student org leaders that they were getting bounced all around campus to get their events approved, and we wanted to centralize that and make it easier for clubs by bringing campus partners together to support student org event approvals, and that's how the Student Org Events panel got started. The panel meets on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m., and you can check out the Student Activities and Involvement website to learn more. If the club needs to attend the panel, students will receive a notice on their EVR confirmation email that they're required to attend. No appointments are needed, and students can stop by any time within the hour. Next, we're going to talk about student organization finances. All student organizations in good standing are eligible to apply for funding through the Associated Student Government Budget Committee, which we will refer to as ASGBC from here on out. ASGBC is a great resource for clubs. The committee allocates roughly $200,000 to registered student organizations for meetings, events, conferences, and more each year. ASGBC meets on Tuesdays during Torero hours over the semester, and student groups who request funding will be invited to attend the meetings. To learn more about how ASGBC meetings run, how the committee makes funding decisions, and how to appeal a decision if needed, check out the ASGBC bylaws and the ASGBC guide, which are available on the ASG website. Next, we will provide a brief overview of the ASGBC funding request process. Let's start with step 1, submitting an EVR. EVRs are required for all events, both in-person and virtual. EVRs must be submitted 1 to 3 weeks before your meeting or event, depending on the meeting or event type. When a student submits a funding request, they will be asked to submit an EVR confirmation, so it is important that students submit an EVR before their funding request. Please note that students are required to submit the EVRs on the behalf of their organization. The committee will not review requests if an advisor submits the EVR form. Once students have submitted an EVR, the next step is applying for funding on Torero orgs. Funding requests are available on Torero orgs under the organization's Finance tab. Once a funding request is submitted, the ASGBC committee will convene to review the club's funding request. The ASGBC committee is composed of 2 associated student government senators, the ASG controller, the ASG finance chair, and student organization representatives from each organization category. The committee meets every Tuesday during Torero hours. Requests are reviewed on a first-come, first-served basis. When the committee is ready to review an organization's request, they will invite the organization to present at the committee meeting. The person who submitted the funding request on Torero orgs will receive this invitation via email. Typically, ASGBC will invite 10 clubs to present per meeting. Any undergraduate representative from the club can present. Please be sure members submit their requests at least 3 weeks in advance for review. When students present to the committee, they should be prepared to share a 1 to 2 minute summary of their request and a detailed budget breakdown. The committee will ask the presenter questions about the request during the meeting. Please note that requests for general body meetings and requests under $250 do not require a presentation. The committee will review these requests based on the information submitted in the funding application. ASGBC makes funding decisions based on the information provided in a club's request and the presentation when applicable. They also will use the ASGBC bylaws and the ASGBC guide as a reference when making funding decisions. After the committee has reviewed a club's request, the ASG controller will send information regarding the club's allocation via Torero orgs. This will include the amount of funding allocated and any additional information from the committee. Please be sure the students read the entire message, as our office will hold the organization accountable to all information included. This information is accessible to all members of the organization, including advisors, on Torero orgs under the club's Finance tab. The person who submitted the funding request will receive an email with the allocation information. Once a club has received their funding allocation, they can access their ASGBC funds. There are several ways to access ASGBC funds. Students can use the ASG credit card, spend their personal funds and get reimbursed, or pay the vendor directly. First, we'll go over the process for using the credit card. We recommend using the ASG credit card whenever possible, so students don't need to spend their own money. The ASG credit card can be used to purchase food and other goods or supplies. Students cannot use the ASG credit card to purchase services such as a DJ, food vendors, performers, and more. If using the credit card is an option, please have a member of the club stop by our office to access the card. The card is available at the Involvement Consultant desk in SLP 308 during Involvement Consultant office hours, which are Monday through Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Fridays from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Students can stop by any time during those hours, or they can email usdinvolvement@gmail.com to set up an appointment. Students also have the option to spend their own money and get reimbursed. If students plan to receive reimbursement, they will need to keep pictures of their original itemized receipts for all purchases. Reimbursements will be processed as a check or direct deposit. Please note that reimbursements can take up to 4 weeks to process, so please make sure students are prepared to wait several weeks for reimbursement if they choose to use their own funds. Student orgs also have the option to pay a vendor directly for their services. Payment will be processed as a check or direct deposit. Vendor payments can also take 4 weeks to process, so please make sure students submit requests as early as possible. In order to request reimbursement or a vendor payment using ASGBC funds, students will need to complete the ASG Finance Payment Form. This form will be sent to all students with their funding allocation notification, and it will also be available on the ASG website under Forms. At the bottom of the form, there is a list of backup documentation that is required for each payment type. Please be sure students submit all required backup documentation by attaching it to the form in the attachment section. Payment requests will not be processed unless all required documents are submitted. Note that all reimbursements and payment requests must be submitted within 14 days of a meeting or event. Requests submitted after this date may not be honored. We want to close the ASGBC section with a few final reminders. We encourage students to plan ahead as funding requests may take up to 3 weeks to be reviewed. We never want students to be in a situation where they spend their own funds and then do not receive an allocation from the committee, and planning ahead can help prevent this. As a reminder, EVRs must be submitted for all events, and they are a requirement for ASGBC funding. Next, student orgs are only eligible to submit one funding request to ASGBC per event. If a funding request has already been reviewed by ASGBC, additional requests submitted for that event will be denied. We encourage student org leaders to be thorough when submitting funding requests to ensure the request is comprehensive when submitted. In order to submit for reimbursement, students will need to submit pictures of their original itemized receipts. If a student would like to receive a reimbursement via direct deposit, please have them work with our office to set this up. It's also important to note that ASGBC will never transfer funds to a department or a student or club account before purchases are made. Next, please note that ASGBC will accept retroactive funding requests within 30 days of an event, although it is not encouraged. There is one exception to this rule. Conferences, conventions, and retreats will not be funded retroactively. Finally, please remember that ASGBC payment paperwork is online, and all backup documentation can be submitted online through the form. Marketing resources. The Creative Zone is located on the 3rd floor of the Student Life Pavilion, and it's a great resource for student organizations. We have a couple graphic designers that work in the Creative Zone, and they can help your club with its marketing needs. Whether it's creating an event flyer, stickers, t-shirt designs, or something else, they are extremely talented, and our graphic design services are free. We also have rentals available to clubs, including A-frames, team builders, and board games. If you've never been to the Creative Zone, we highly encourage you to check it out. Our Student Org newsletter is another great resource, and it's sent out every Monday to inform clubs of updates and to promote upcoming Student Org events. To promote your club's event in the newsletter, email a flyer and a short blurb to usdinvolvement@gmail.com at least 1 week before your event. My postings will also allow you to advertise events on campus, through university websites, newsletters, and the Blue Buzz. We also highly encourage you to advertise your club and its events on kiosks and bulletin boards available around campus. We are now going to move away from ASGBC to talk about student org club accounts. Some clubs have a club account on campus. Club accounts are on-campus bank accounts for student organizations. Please note that this account is independent of ASGBC, and ASGBC will never directly deposit funds into a club account. Students with a club account can choose how to spend funding from their club account as long as spending aligns with university policies. Students will access these funds through a club cost center, and spending practices follow university department practices for payment requests, credit card usage, and more. With the transition to Workday, we would like to highlight a few important changes to the club account process. First, all clubs with the Poets now have an associated cost center instead. Please review the Workday crosswalk to see your club's new cost center information. In addition, undergraduate students are not able to access the Workday system unless they have a job on campus. For this reason, we ask that student organization advisors submit all payment requests and reimbursements for club accounts using the Workday system. Requests will need to be approved by your supervisor, so please ensure that they are aware that you will be submitting a payment request through Workday. When processing payments using a student or club account, we ask that you work closely with the club's leadership to ensure that they are in the driver's seat when using funds, and you are supporting them to help them make the process happen using Workday. An advisor should never spend an organization's funds without their knowledge. Student organizations can continue to partner with our office in order to access the credit card using their club account. Club accounts are primarily monitored by the student organization and their advisor. Our office will step in if the account has a negative balance to let you all know that this is the case. If you are uncertain if the club that you advise has an account, or if you would like to request a balance sheet, a member of the organization can reach out to our office by emailing sai@sandiego.edu. Students can also reach out to set up an on-campus account, and we will walk them through the process. Let's talk about alumni engagement. One expectation that we have of clubs is that their Torero orgs rosters are up to date. All members of the club should join on Torero orgs to help with alumni engagement. We encourage this practice because each year we send the Torero orgs rosters to Alumni Relations so they can enter this information into their alumni database. This helps engage students after they graduate, and it provides a wealth of knowledge to current student org members. For example, if an organization wanted to reach out to their alumni for an event, reunion, speaking engagement, meet and greet, or another purpose, they could contact the Office of Alumni Relations to get a list of previous members. We encourage orgs to engage alumni creatively to keep our Torero community connected. It's important to note that all student organization advisors are considered campus security authorities and mandated reporters. In agreeing to serve as a club advisor, you are agreeing to take on this role. Our office will send a training to all student org advisors regarding their role as campus security authorities during the semester that the club registers. Advisors are required to complete this training each year. As a campus security authority, you are required by law to immediately report allegations of Clery Act crimes to USD's Department of Public Safety. It does not matter if the individual involved in the crime or reporting the crime is associated with the institution. You must report it if you become aware. Please note that it is not your responsibility to investigate the crime or to determine whether the crime took place. Examples of reportable Clery Act crimes are listed below. Please familiarize yourself with this list so you know when you are required to report. There are several great resources available to you as advisors. First, we encourage you to reach out to our office if you ever have questions. We have several staff members, graduate assistants, and student employees who we refer to as involvement consultants who can help guide you or members of the club that you advise with questions. We also have a variety of resources available on our website, including information on club policies, club registration, event planning, and more. Finally, we encourage you to refer to the Student Org Handbook to understand all of the club policies and protocols. The handbook is linked in the resources section of the advisor agreement, and it is available on the SAI website. If you have any questions, we encourage you to attend our Q&A session on Friday, October 7th at 12 p.m. A registration form is available in the advisor agreement. You are also welcome to reach out to our office at any time by emailing sai@sandiego.edu. We appreciate your dedication to student organizations on campus, and we look forward to partnering with you in the next year.